The stars over the outer rim had always been quiet, silent and still, like forgotten lanterns in a black ocean, but that silence shattered when the first ping came through. It was just a ripple at first, a flicker on a deep space scan grid in Sector 7 Kappa, dismissed as static by the junior officer who first saw it. But then it came again, stronger, sharper, more focused. A ship. But not just any ship. It was fast. Too fast. Faster than any known vessel in Imperial records. And stranger still, it had no identification signal, no transponder code, no known engine trail or origin stamp. It didn't match any registry, not human, not alien, not even pre-Imperial relics. There was no sign of its construction design, no serial plating, no alliance code, nothing at all. It was just moving. Cold and silent and fast, slicing through the void without answering a single hail. The central AI of the listening post flagged the anomaly and sent it to command, and within 3 minutes, it landed on the desk of Rear Admiral Kovaz on Station Arcus Prime, where deep space threats were monitored and intercepted. He leaned forward in his chair, studying the data. At first, he thought it was a glitch. False echoes could happen, especially around dead systems, but as the object passed through the helium dust cloud without slowing down, every sensor still showed the same. It was real. It wasn't natural. And it was coming straight into Empire space. Kovaz immediately called a red status meeting with his command team. By protocol, anything unknown entering their borders without ID was either a stray or a threat. But this felt different. The object had bypassed every known patrol route, entering through a stretch of unguarded space no ship should have known about. And still, it didn't respond. It didn't even act aware. Like it didn't care who saw it. Like it knew where it was going. And it was heading directly toward the core. Not just near it, but a straight line to the Imperial capital, cutting across restricted zones, military buffer regions, and protected trade routes. As the hours passed, more listening stations picked up the signal. It didn't drift. It didn't slow. It didn't correct for gravity wells or stellar interference. It just moved, like a blade through cloth. By day 2, the mysterious ship was the top priority across the entire galactic defense network. The Emperor's Guard was notified. All outer patrols were placed on alert. Civilian traffic was rerouted, and dark protocols were initiated. These were only used when the Empire faced unknown alien threats, and it hadn't been used in over 50 years. Panic started to build. On the outer colonies, rumors spread fast. People whispered of ancient gods, of long-forgotten warships drifting back from beyond the veil, of silent ghosts of the first civilizations returning to judge the living. The Imperial Media Board tried to suppress the panic, issuing only vague statements about a meteor survey event, but leaks from military staff flooded back channels. Even among the high-ranking command, unease was spreading like fire. The ship's speed was growing. Every hour, it moved faster. Not like it was using known propulsion, but like it was folding through space itself. Warp tech wasn't new, but this was cleaner. Smoother. Perfect. Admiral Kovaz personally met with Fleet Command and proposed the ship be intercepted and studied, but his request was denied. No provocation. The Emperor's voice had said over encrypted channel. We observe. We prepare. If it enters the red zone, we act. That red zone was the final line, the last border before the ship would be in striking distance of the Empire's heart. But even with those orders, Kovaz didn't rest. He moved one scout ship, the VRS Havocs, into stealth range of the object. The Havocs was one of their fastest recon crafts, cloaked in a high-frequency energy field, invisible to most sensors. Its mission was simple: get close and scan. Within hours, the Havocs sent back its first image and the bridge of Arcus Prime fell into dead silence. The ship was real. A shape unlike anything they'd seen. It was long, like a blade or a wing, blacker than space, absorbing light. Its hull had no seams, no weapon ports, no windows. Just surface lines like veins, glowing faintly blue. The scan couldn't penetrate it. The sensors bounced off like light on a mirror. And then, right before the Havocs could send more data, its signal cut off. No explosion. No distress. Just gone. Vanished. Kovas stood there, frozen, as the room filled with warning chimes. They'd lost the Havocs entirely. No debris. No trace. Just silence. Fear settled over him. This wasn't just an unknown ship anymore, it was an unknown power. And it had just erased one of their most advanced crafts without trying. Within hours, that silence became the loudest alarm the Empire had heard in generations. They had only one name for threats like this. Class Black. The highest level. The kind that didn't fit any known category. A silent, unregistered ship had entered Imperial space, moving at increasing speed, immune to scans, ignoring every protocol, and now it had just erased one of theirs. No ID. No origin. But it was coming fast. Across the vast empire, alarms echoed through deep space command centers, warships, and planetary outposts as the unknown ship continued its silent approach, and the full weight of fear settled on the hearts of billions. It wasn't just a ghost signal anymore, now it was officially classified as a threat of highest concern, and a full empire-wide lockdown was ordered under Directive Black Echo. All outer colonies were instructed to ground civilian ships, cut all outgoing transmissions, and activate emergency bunkers. Military ships were recalled from patrol and rerouted to defend the main sectors. The news was tightly controlled, but the people could feel it. Power stations dimmed, emergency sirens wailed without explanation, and armed forces began gathering at key orbital points. On the capital world, Seraph Prime, the Emperor's personal guard, was seen marching in full armor for the first time in decades, and across the massive skyline, energy shields shimmered quietly into place above the city. Panic began to grow beneath the surface, especially among the border worlds where the silence felt more dangerous than any war. On Station Arcus Prime, Admiral Kovas stood in the central command tower, watching the latest scan of the unknown ship as it tore through Sector D-19, moving even faster now past the range of any regular star drive. It was heading for the Imperial core with a precision that defied chance. It didn't swerve, didn't drift, didn't communicate. It didn't even try to hide. Kovas issued urgent updates to the inner circle of defense, but answers were few. Some members wanted to destroy it now before it got any closer. But others feared it might trigger a larger reaction. What if it wasn't alone? What if this was just a scout? What if they attacked and woke something even worse? That fear only deepened when the tech crews finally decrypted the last data burst from the missing Havocs. The final transmission wasn't words, but a strange visual pulse, like a flashing pattern in a scanner, a light frequency too complex for humans to see naturally. But the AI reconstructed it and played it back. Everyone in the room went cold. It was a shape. A circular mark, shifting like liquid metal, glowing with blue fire. The AI said it didn't match any known symbol in human, alien, or AI cultures. It was something new or something very, very old. And it pulsed like a heartbeat. Admiral Kovas looked at it and felt a deep dread, something he couldn't explain. Something primal. As if his own instincts remembered this shape from a time before the Empire, before space travel, before memory. He pushed the fear aside and ordered full defensive deployment around the capital system. He contacted Fleet Admiral Reyes, head of the Imperial Armada, and asked for backup. Reyes agreed, but with warning: "We can send ships, Kovas, but if this thing gets past us, the Empire must be ready to run, not fight." That message disturbed him more than anything else. Reyes never ran. And yet, now the top brass of the Empire was whispering the possibility of retreat. Refuge. Relocation. The Empire hadn't moved its capital in 700 years. But now, no one was sure if Seraph Prime was safe anymore. In hidden war rooms deep beneath the Council Tower, ancient AI minds were brought online, systems that hadn't been activated in centuries, built during the Great Wars, designed to predict alien invasions and black-level threats. But even those systems struggled. The unknown ship didn't match any war pattern. It didn't fit into any threat category. It didn't behave like a drone, a scout, or a warship. It didn't seem curious, but it also didn't seem aggressive. And yet, it erased the havocs like dust. A strange quiet fell over the command stations as more time passed. The ship kept coming. Every hour, closer. No radio signal. No life signs. No attempt at contact. Just speed and silence. The media started to lose control. Leaks from terrified officers reached the public. People began demanding answers. Riots broke out on remote mining moons. Religious groups called it the end of time, calling the ship the second star, a being of judgment. Alien embassies began evacuating their staff, requesting safe passage out of human space. And amid the chaos, a single question echoed through every chamber of the Empire: what is this thing? Who built it? Why is it coming here? Is it a message? A warning? A weapon? And if it is a weapon, then what kind of enemy would need a ship like that? For now, no one had answers. Just images. Silent, sharp, dark images of a ship with no name, no ID, no trail. And a direction straight for them. In the quiet of his chamber, Kovaz looked at the latest scan again. He zoomed in. The surface of the ship wasn't metal, it looked more like stone or glass, black as void, and it pulsed again with that blue heartbeat. He whispered to himself, not meaning to speak out loud, it's not coming to talk. It's coming to finish something. And far across the stars, that ship impossibly fast, impossibly calm kept moving toward the Empire's beating heart. The ship moved through space like it owned the stars, silent and untouched, crossing deeper into Imperial territory without a sound, and not a single ship could stop it, not that any dared to try again after what happened to the Havocs. Fear began to take on a new shape now, not just as panic but as deep confusion, a growing sense that the Empire was staring at something it couldn't understand, something older and greater than its fleets, its history, or its pride. On Arcus Prime, Admiral Kovaz ordered a deeper scan, one that tapped into the ancient archives buried beneath the AI core, classified records dating back to the early expansion of the human race, from before the Empire even existed. Most of the data was fragmented, lost in wars, solar flares, or wiped during regime shifts. But the AI kept digging, and after hours of cross-referencing lost signals, obscure scout reports, and ancient distress calls, it found something. A faint pattern. The shape seen in the Havoc's transmission had been recorded before, not by the Empire, but by a long-dead civilization that once lived on the far edge of the Orion cluster. The civilization was called the Aetheri, and they vanished thousands of years ago, leaving behind only broken moons and shattered cities. One final signal had been found by a Terran explorer centuries later. That signal was locked away because no one could explain it. Now, when the AI played it back, the room went still. It wasn't a language. It was a warning. Translated loosely, it said, if the light returns, do not scan, do not follow, do not resist. It is not a vessel. It is a seal. Kovaz stared at the message, heart heavy, thoughts racing. A seal? A seal for what? A prison? A lock? Was this ship not a visitor but a jailer? And if so, what had it come to contain or release? He forwarded the findings to Fleet Command and sent a secure message to the Imperial Science Council. Every expert, from xenolinguists to deep history archivists, was now pulled into the operation. And across space, the unknown ship kept coming, its surface still unreadable, its interior still blacked out by every scan, as if it didn't exist in normal space at all. Back on Seraph Prime, panic was spreading under control. The Emperor called a secret meeting with the High Council. Eyes were hollow, voices tight. No one wanted to say it, but everyone was thinking the same thing: the Empire might be facing something it was never meant to face. Something beyond weapons, beyond strategy. An ancient intelligence, maybe. Or a forgotten machine still running its last order from eons ago. One of the council members, a woman named Trenel, a cultural historian, stood up and said what no one else would. This ship might not be a threat. But it might be following something that is. The room went cold. She explained that across many alien cultures, there were stories, old ones, of things that moved between galaxies, feeding on life, leaving only silence behind. And in some of those stories, there were always watchers, silent beings or machines that appeared just before the end. Their job was not to attack, but to observe. To confirm. To mark. What if this ship was one of those? A marker? A signal that something had found them? Suddenly, everything felt smaller. The Empire, with its fleets, its armies, its power, felt like a child staring at a storm. Kovaz ordered all border stations to stop scanning the ship just in case the warning from the Etheri was right. But it was already too late. Across dozens of systems, automated probes had already tried to read it, touch it, analyze it. The seal, if that's what it was, had already been poked. And the ship was still coming. One of the AI analysts showed a disturbing detail in the ship's flight path. It wasn't just heading for the Empire's capital, it was headed for a very specific point beneath it. A small, hidden chamber beneath the oldest foundations of Seraph Prime. The Council went pale. That location was not common knowledge. In fact, it wasn't supposed to exist. Only top-level historians and restricted architects knew about it. A vault, older than the capital itself, built during the founding days, sealed and forgotten. No one remembered why it was made, only that it was buried, locked, and left alone. Now the ship was heading straight for it, as if it knew. As if it remembered what everyone else had forgotten. A silent ship with no name. No crew. No signals. No origin. But it was coming fast, and it seemed to be returning to something. And for the first time, the Empire wondered not just what this ship was but what it had come back to find. The unknown ship was now only days away from the Imperial core, and despite every warning, every attempt to understand it, the truth remained out of reach, and the fear kept growing, deep and cold like a shadow spreading across the stars. With no way to communicate, no clue who or what it carried, and no way to stop it, the Empire faced a choice it never wanted to make: wait, or fight. Fleet Admiral Reyes finally gave the order. The last line of defense would be drawn. 2,000 warships, armed with the most advanced weapons ever made, moved into position just beyond the inner system, forming a living wall of steel, fire, and resolve. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, interceptors, stealth corvettes, even ancient orbital cannons, all were deployed into battle formation. Across every bridge, every pilot's chamber, every command deck, the soldiers were tense, quiet, and filled with the knowledge that none of their weapons might work. But they had to try. They couldn't let it pass. They couldn't risk whatever was in that hidden vault beneath the capital. Admiral Kovaz arrived on the Orestin, the lead command vessel, his face pale from sleepless nights and silent worry. No one said it aloud, but he knew the truth: they weren't going to win. The goal wasn't victory anymore. It was delay. Slow the ship. Buy time. Learn something. Warn others if everything failed. Across the formation, countdowns began. The ship's trajectory was locked. Its speed had now surpassed theoretical limits. It wasn't just moving fast, it was cutting space open, leaving behind a narrow scar of light, a strange fold where reality shimmered, like space itself didn't want to touch it. As it came into sensor range, the fleet initiated warning hails, energy pulses, and soft lock scans. The ship ignored them all. No change in speed. No shift in course. No response. It just kept moving, calm and unstoppable. On Kovaz's screen, the ship finally appeared. Not just a scan but a full visual. It was far larger than earlier reports, almost half the size of a moon, black as the void itself, but now its surface glowed with slow, pulsing lines, blue and white, like veins under ice. It didn't look like a weapon, but it felt like one. Then something strange happened. As the ship reached the fleet's perimeter, all systems began to glitch. Lights flickered. Sensors scrambled. AI units locked into emergency reboot. Kovaz clutched the rail as the Orestin's bridge dimmed to red. Dozens of captains shouted over broken comms, reporting malfunctions. Missile locks failed, reactor cores overheated, and even time seemed to stagger. Some crew members fell unconscious. Others screamed of hearing whispers, or voices calling them by name. One soldier wept in the corner, claiming he saw his mother, who had died years ago, standing in the fire control bay. "It's not attacking," Kovaz muttered, heart pounding, "but it's breaking everything just by passing through." Then the ship came into full view right in front of the formation and no one fired. No one could. Their weapons didn't work. The command codes vanished. Systems locked. The fleet had become blind and frozen, powerless in the presence of something far beyond understanding. And still, the ship did not slow down. It passed through the center of the formation like a shadow through smoke. No collision. No resistance. Just a deep pulsing light, and the growing sense that something inside the ship was watching. Kovaz stared, unable to look away, as a wave of data washed over the fleet. Unreadable signals, memory spikes, ghost energy. And then, for a moment, just a brief, impossible moment, he heard a voice in his mind. Not a sound but a feeling, ancient and cold. It said, "You opened the edge. Now we see you." And then it was gone. The ship faded beyond the last cruiser, leaving behind silence, chaos, and terror. The fleet was still alive but broken. And Kovaz, trembling, knew one thing for sure. They hadn't stopped it. They hadn't even touched it. Whatever it was, it had chosen to let them live. And now it was heading straight for Seraph Prime, for the vault buried under the capital, the place no one remembered, but the ship had never forgotten. The ship passed the broken fleet like a dream, slipping through trembling hands, silent and untouched, leaving behind hundreds of warships still floating in perfect formation, powerless, quiet, and afraid to move, as if they had seen something too old, too deep, too far beyond the mind's reach. But it wasn't finished. Now it approached Seraph Prime, the capital of the Empire, a planet surrounded by defense rings, weaponized satellites, and elite Guardian-class destroyers. And yet, no one fired. No one dared. After what happened to the fleet, they knew this was not a ship you attacked. It wasn't a thing of war. It was something else. Something ancient and precise, and it had a purpose. The people of Seraph Prime looked up as the skies darkened. A slow eclipse began, not from the sun but from the black shape that now hung above the world like a second moon. It made no sound. It cast no shadow. But it sent a signal. Not through regular channels. Not in words. But as a pulse, a frequency that traveled through gravity itself. Machines locked up. AI systems froze. Power grids flickered and surged. But the worst part was what happened to people. Across the planet, and on nearby stations, sensitive minds, telepaths, psychics, even children began to collapse, clutching their heads, eyes wide in horror. They weren't screaming in pain. They were listening. Seeing. Feeling something no human mind had ever touched. On the Orestin, Admiral Kovaz was barely back on his feet when the pulse hit. For a moment, he felt like he was falling through space, weightless, blind, and cold. Then a memory appeared, his brother's face. Smiling. Alive. His brother had died 20 years ago. But in that moment, he looked real. Spoke his name. And then was gone. Kovaz stumbled to the bridge, where the crews sat frozen, blinking, whispering. One technician said he saw a burning city he'd never been to. Another swore she heard an entire choir singing from inside her own heartbeat. It wasn't madness. It was communication. But not like anything they knew. The ship wasn't using language. It was using memory. Emotion. Time. The Imperial Science Council quickly activated their deep mind decoders, trying to capture the signal, but it was too large, like trying to trap a sunbeam with a glass of water. Still, the AI managed to hold a small pattern. It looked like a code, a fractal spiral that kept folding into itself, like a never-ending lock. The Emperor watched from the council tower, his face grim, as the signal grew stronger. He ordered the vault beneath the city to be sealed with final protocols, ancient codes written by the Empire's founders, never used before. But it didn't matter. The ship already knew. Slowly, it descended. Not fast. Not like an attack. But steady, calm, like a ritual. Like it was returning to a place it had once left long ago. It came to a stop, hovering just above the old ground, right over the hidden chamber none of them were supposed to remember. Then it opened. A hatch, smooth and silent, slid apart, revealing only darkness inside. No ladder. No ramp. No light. Just space. And from within that void, a second signal emerged, one unlike anything before. It wasn't a message. It was an invitation. A call. Kovas felt it before the instruments confirmed it. The ship was waiting. For someone. Or something. On the ground, near the vault site, seismic tremors began. Not natural. Controlled. The vault door, untouched for hundreds of years, began to glow. The seal was reacting. To the ship. To the signal. To whatever had just been awakened. It was then that the Emperor summoned the deep historians, the secret order of knowledge keepers who guarded forbidden truths from the Empire's birth. One of them, a frail old man named Azen, whispered a truth that chilled the entire room. "This ship is not new," he said. "It was made before us. It comes only when something ancient is breaking loose. We sealed it. We buried it. And now it remembers." And across the stars, all communication blacked out for 23 seconds. In those moments, every sensor, every AI, every digital system simply stopped. And in that silence, something else woke up beneath the ground. Something that wasn't supposed to wake again. Beneath the capital city of Seraph Prime, deep under layers of bedrock, steel, and forgotten time, the old vault stirred, groaning like a beast that had slept too long and now remembered pain. For over 7 centuries, it had been silent, sealed by founders who had left no records, no explanation, only a warning etched into stone that no one could read anymore. The ground trembled gently, not from an explosion, but from something slower, older, like the soil itself was remembering. Above, the black ship remained still, hovering like a watchful eye, its hatch still open, its pulse in perfect sync with the vault below. The signal it sent now had changed, no longer just a call, but a countdown. Inside the Imperial Tower, Admiral Kovas stood next to the Emperor and the old historian Azen, watching seismic monitors draw strange circles with each tremor. "It's not just waking something," Azen said softly, "it's unlocking something, something we tried to erase." And then the truth finally came, spoken not by a man, but by the Deep Archive AI, a system older than the Empire itself. Using fragments of erased records, it recreated a buried file, File 0, the first encryption ever used by the Empire. And inside it, a name, Project Silent Sun. According to the AI, the founders of the Empire had not started with war or peace but with fear. Fear of something they had discovered beneath Seraph Prime, in the first days of colonization. A structure. Not human. Not alien. Alive. It had no door. No walls. Just shifting geometry and a soft humming sound like distant thunder. Scientists tried to study it. Soldiers tried to destroy it. But nothing worked. Until one day, it opened on its own, and for 8 minutes, every person within 50 kilometers vanished. No screams. No remains. Just dust. That was the last time anyone approached it. The founders built over it. Buried it. Locked it with technology they barely understood. And they made a decision, to erase all records of what had happened, to rewrite history and pretend the Empire had risen from strength, not fear. But now, that thing they had sealed away, the thing they didn't understand, was waking up. And the ship above was here to witness it. Or stop it. Or perhaps, finish what it once started. Kovas felt the weight of truth settle on his shoulders like ice. Everything, the silence, the ship, the vault, the strange signal, it all led here. and none of them were in control anymore. Outside the tower, the sky began to change. Clouds, real and digital, shimmered with strange shapes, as if light was bending wrong. Civilians panicked. Emergency systems failed. And then the ground cracked open. A beam of blue-white light shot up from beneath the city, piercing the sky like a blade, reaching straight into the belly of the ship. For a moment, everything paused. The pulse from the ship stopped. The tremors ceased. The sky held its breath. Then came the sound, low, deep, not heard through ears but felt in the chest and bones. It was not a scream. Not a voice. It was the sound of awakening. The vault was open. But there was no door, no path. Just emptiness. Inside the chasm below, something moved. Not a creature. Not a machine. A shape, floating, shifting, pulsing with the same blue light. Kovas couldn't describe it. No one could. It was like a thought, a wound, a memory made real. And it was rising. The historian Azan fell to his knees, whispering, they didn't seal it away to protect themselves. They sealed it to protect everything else. And the ship, still silent, now began to change. Panels unfolded. Light poured outward. It was preparing for what? No one knew. Was it going to destroy the thing below? Absorb it? Speak to it? Or worse, was it here to make sure nothing stopped what was about to begin? The Emperor issued evacuation orders. The council scattered. But Kovas remained at the window, eyes locked on the impossible light. It was too late to run. Too late to stop anything. All that remained now, was to understand why the ship had returned and what had never left. The beam of light from the vault never stopped. It burned through the clouds, into the heart of the black ship above, connecting the two like blood through a vein, and everyone who saw it felt a strange weight in their chest. As if something far below and something far above were calling to each other after ages of silence. But this was not just a vault, and Seraph Prime was not just a capital, it was a lock, a hiding place, a disguise. The Empire had unknowingly built its heart over the last piece of something ancient, something terrible, something the galaxy itself had once tried to forget. Deep within the planet, the shifting shape that had risen from the vault was now floating through air, moving without gravity, pulsing with slow waves of memory. Every time it pulsed, people nearby collapsed, some screamed, others cried, and some just stared into nothing as if their minds had been pulled into another time. Kovas stood at the edge of the ruined vault chamber now, wearing a heavy exosuit, his face pale behind the visor. The Emperor had ordered a full retreat, but Kovas refused. If we don't understand it, he said, we won't survive it. The AI systems monitoring the object could no longer function. Language broke down. Math stopped working. Basic logic loops failed. It was as if the presence of the object itself was rewriting the rules of thought. Only one thing remained constant: the connection to the ship above. The black vessel, still motionless in the sky, had now opened further, revealing more of its core, strange rotating structures, glowing lines, and a single eye-like dome in the center, watching. And then, it moved not fast, but with purpose, leaving orbit and heading away from Seraph Prime. Everyone thought it was retreating. But it wasn't. It was returning to something. A hidden star system, long erased from the maps, known only in restricted files. A system labeled as Red Protocol 0. A place called Vale 6, once believed to be a failed colony, now revealed to be the true origin of the object under Seraph Prime. Kovas and his crew followed in a single stealth ship, hearts pounding. The closer they got, the more they saw the truth. Vale 6 was not dead. It was sealed. A planet covered in strange towers, none human, all dark except for one, now glowing, pulsing in the same pattern as the thing beneath Seraph Prime. The AI on board whispered strange warnings, its voice unstable. This place is older than recorded time, it said. It is not a colony. It is a cage. And they understood. Long ago, the ancient builders had created a system of locks across the galaxy, powerful machines buried in planets, hidden under cities, wrapped in lies. They had imprisoned something, not a creature, not a god, but a force. A hunger that had nearly swallowed the stars. And the black ship above was one of the guardians. Not a weapon. Not a scout. But a jailer. It moved from star to star, checking the locks, repairing damage, resetting seals. But now the seal was broken. The Empire, by building over Seraph Prime and disturbing the vault, had triggered an ancient protocol. The object in the vault wasn't an enemy, it was a signal. A warning flare. And the ship had come not to stop it but to verify it. And it had found the truth. The seal was failing. The prison was breaking. And now the jailer had to prepare for what came next. Kovas stood in silence as he watched the ship position itself above Veil 6, its body changing again, forming new shapes, like a key fitting into a lock older than stars. He realized then this wasn't the end of a mystery. It was the beginning of a release. The forbidden planet had been found. The locks were open. And whatever had been held for so long was waking up, not just beneath Seraph Prime but everywhere. Across the galaxy, in places forgotten, other signals began to pulse. Other locks began to crack. The jailer had seen enough. The truth was clear. The Empire wasn't being invaded. It was being warned. Above the forbidden world of Veil 6, the black ship floated like a final word left unsaid, glowing with a deep blue light that no longer pulsed gently. It burned, brighter and sharper now, as if time itself was running out. Across the galaxy, systems flickered, alarms rang in hidden bunkers, and strange shapes began to appear in sensor readings on distant moons and dead stars, structures long buried, long silent, now slowly rising from the dark. The vault beneath Seraph Prime had become fully active, humming with a sound that made machines weep and human minds tremble. Admiral Kovas stood aboard his ship orbiting Veil 6, unable to speak, unable to blink, watching the black vessel transform one last time. Its shape unfolded like a flower of light, revealing its core, an orb filled with memory and power, wrapped in layers of time and metal, now spinning faster than the eye could follow. Then the ship sent a message. Not through sound or light but directly into the mind. Every human, alien, and machine within the Empire heard it at once, like a whisper in their dreams, clear and impossible to ignore. It spoke no language, but the meaning was absolute. You opened the vault. The seals are failing. What sleeps beneath the stars will not remain asleep. We cannot stop what comes. Prepare your kind. And then, just like that, the ship began to fall apart, not in flames, not in destruction but in light, breaking down into millions of glowing fragments that scattered into the sky like dust, vanishing across the stars. The ship was not destroyed. It had finished its purpose. It had delivered its warning. And now, it was gone. Silence returned, but it was not peace. On Seraph Prime, the vault stayed open. The glowing shape still floated above the ruined chamber, watching, waiting. It had stopped moving but not pulsing. It was counting. On Veil 6, one of the towers cracked open, revealing something that had not seen space in millions of years, something so vast, it shifted shadows in orbit. Kovas gave his final report. The Guardian is gone. The seals are broken. The locks are open. And something is coming. The Emperor ordered the creation of a new protocol, Evacuation Black. The Empire's focus was no longer on defense, but on survival. Far away, in the uncharted regions of space, faint signals began to rise, echoes of forgotten systems waking up, responding to the same pulse that called the ship. They were not allies. They were not enemies. They were watchers. They had seen this happen before. And they knew what came next. For now, all was quiet. But the quiet was not safety, it was the deep breath before the scream. No one knew what had been sealed beneath Seraph Prime. No one knew what force the ancient builders had feared so much they erased themselves to hide it. But now, the Empire would learn. It had stared into the face of something it couldn't name, and that thing had looked back. The final warning had been given. And whatever waited behind that broken seal, was almost free.